Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. This is DGI-403 and I'm joined by my co-host Sridhar Chityalaji. Sridharji, Namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel.
Namaskar. Good morning to everybody, and early good evening to folks in India.
And a lot happening around the world. I would request all of you to like this video and also like, share and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already done so, and please click on the bell button for notifications. First off, your favorite topic, Sridharji, markets. The Fed has raised interest rates by 25 basis points and Europe, I think, has responded with 50 basis points. So when do you think these guys are going to take a pause on this, sir?
I think they're very maniacal about their focus on inflation. My kind of thought process around this was that there would be a pivot around the end of this year, but it looks like it could slip into the first quarter or second quarter of next year, based on the target inflation window or band that both Fed and ECB are looking at. But they have tapered or they have deaccelerated the hikes. So we probably will finish end of the year somewhere around 5 to 5.25% prime rate, which is still, high. But that's where I think they will finish, with the hope that they will be able to get into 2024 with a control over inflation.
Thank you on that, sir. And let's now take a look at what is happening around the world. Is the Quad shrinking to a duo that is consisting of just India and the United States? I have reason for saying this. A flurry of agreements being drawn up between Japan and China, as well as Australia and China. Sridharji, do you see what I see, sir?
Well, I think Quad has become, we have consistently maintained.
We said that first, of course. We said it first, that it's dead. Yes.
DGI is dead. Now, so to answer to your question, whether it has become a duo, I think that, to me, I would say that it has become irrelevant, would be my most appropriate. When the world is going on with issues, so you have the two national security advisors, United States and India, meeting in U.S. You have the cyber group of the Quad meeting in India to discuss about 6G and telecom. Then you have had discussions going on between U.S. and Japan, U.S. and Philippines, and then you are having China and Japan trying to open the dialogue. So it's a potpourri of activity that is going on. As far as there's nothing coordinated as it used to happen in 2017 to 2020 as far as Quad is concerned.
What a difference one man makes, Sridharji. Shinzo Abe was there, everything was getting piloted so nicely and beautifully, and now suddenly we see that, there's a Telugu saying, Evariku vare Yamuna tire, to each their own. That's what it means. And it's somehow I feel like that is where this is headed. That's why I brought it up. Sir, this big mystery Chinese balloon flying over Montana, where many of America's nuclear installations are there, nuclear warheads are there, ICBMs are there, plus it's got some other significance also, which I don't want to go into. Perhaps you can shed some light on it. Is this mischief? Because the US considered shooting it down, and then they said, well, there is so much heavy equipment inside the balloon that it could cause damage on the ground. So they said, okay, let it go. It is believed to be flying even above cruising temperatures of the aeroplanes. What else can we think about, sir? Why are these guys doing these kinds of mischievous things?
Well, that's the job, Sriji.
But then, sir, sorry to ask you, sir, one question. See, Montana is many thousands of miles inside US. This would have come across from either from Pacific or along Alaska and come. What was the US government doing then?
I think it is believed. There are several questions you have asked, so I got to kind of, try to answer each one of them before I forget the questions. The trajectory seems to be from the Alaskan side, so I think that's the first response. The second point is, what is it doing? Well, it came with a clear purpose of spying. The fact that it is in that sensitive area, plus it also has access to significant telecom and IT infrastructure for defense. It is believed that they are leveraging that. So that's the second part of it. Now, to your question, what has United States done about it? Well, they say that, they have had prior incidences of similar type. They're watching, and they believe that it is not an imminent threat. That is their view. They're not going to tell us that a lot of information has been stolen. If people forget, if you recall, going back in time in the tag years of 2020 of President Trump's presidency, which Mike Pompeo has written about, you saw in Houston embassy fire coming out, which we covered in DGI, people spying and burning records. So you have all kinds of activities that the China seems to be engaged in, and unbeknownst, U.S. is caught unawares is the most appropriate word, and I think the Congress has called for a hearing. Lo and behold, Antony Blinken is supposed to meet with President Xi Jinping. So the Chinese embassy on Friday has issued a statement. Well, they are surprised that there is a balloon flying over United States, and they're going to kind of investigate what exactly this balloon is doing. This is from the Chinese, from Beijing, okay? And they're just going to investigate to find out what it is. What would you expect the Chinese to say? And then to say, hey, remain calm, don't lose your composure, we are trying to reset our relationship. This is the way the Chinese typically play the game, Sriji.
Well, viewers, there is a Latin saying called fonus bolonus. And if anyone wants to understand, look it up. If you have read Asterix comics, you would have understood what it is, because there is a lot of baloney coming from on the balloon from China. They love to do war and peace at the same time. Now, on the Secretary Blinken's visit, there is one thing that US has been extremely concerned about with respect to its relations with China, and that is the fact that China continues to make fentanyl, which is believed to be a drug, though so potent that, once somebody starts getting on it, 18 months near certain death. 18 months. Shelf life is over if you start getting hooked on fentanyl. Now, what I've also, I think we have reported it on DGI, that China has transferred the technology of fentanyl making, including the drug, starting raw materials, to Mexico. And they're also now, US has an all-time trade deficit with China. Sridharji, what do you think is going to be gained by Blinken going there?
Well, I think that this fentanyl issue is very significant. We haven't touched in 2023 the border surges and the issues.
Yes.
One of the significant things that's happening around the border is the smuggling of the fentanyl and the significant fatalities that is resulting as a result of this fentanyl being smuggled into. And most of it, as Sriji rightly pointed out, seems to be has got the Chinese hand in it in different forms. So that's on the fentanyl. As far as Mr. Blinken is concerned, he's on a series of visits across Asia. He went to Philippines and signed the deal. He went to Solomon Islands and got the stuff. So he's going to China, because remember that last year in October, again, we covered this when the great Congress elected Emperor Xi and made him one of the visits that was agreed to post that in the November G20 meetings in Indonesia is Antony Blinken's visit prior to Biden and Xi Jinping kind of having a detailed discussion. So Mr. Xi Jinping himself is basically saying that he is going to host Antony Blinken, who's a Secretary of State, reflecting that he is trying to soft pedal a number of issues that we are talking about. One, this balloon. Number two is very specifically around continued aggression against Taiwan as well as India, which the Congress has, a Republican-led Congress, by the way, has pointed out that our allies, India and Taiwan, why you are continuing to show aggression. Second, this is second item. The third item that it is the continued incursions into South China Sea is the third item that is going to kind of prop up. Of course, every time you talk about human rights in Uyghur province, This is another one that props up. When you look at all these things, what is he going to achieve, Sriji? The balloon is like a balloon, which is going to balloon away when he has got so many issues that he is dealing with. And why is he even making visit? Congress has stated he should pull back. He should not go to China and come back. So let the Chinese decide that they have to repent. Will they repent? We haven't covered this. We may cover it in the next. We will cover this. What is the trade that has happened under Biden? We will cover that in the next, because it's a separate discussion we need to have. Nothing seems to be achieved except Mr. Xi Jinping is winning this battle, Sriji.
Now, remember, viewers, we've been telling about how Turkey has been dragging its feet in granting Sweden approval into NATO. Now, the United States is countering that our selling F-16s to Turkey depends upon NATO approval. Is US hinting the same thing, sir?
The U.S. Congress, which is a Republican-led Congress, is hinting for the first time, not hinting, stating explicitly, no F-16s if you're going to screw around with NATO with your arbitrary policy. So therefore, that is the message that the Congress is sending to Turkey.
Excuse me. Viewers, we have covered this in the past also. Sweden and I think Finland, in order to gain entry into NATO, had actually acceded to all the demands of Turkey when this has been going on for several months. Turkey is a lone NATO holdout to not allow these two countries to join NATO. And after having done all that, now again Turkey is dragging its feet. So there is something there, some friction that is going on. We have to wait and see how things go on from here. Sridharji, is the inflation in Turkey still around 80-85%, sir?
No, I think it has come down to about less than, I would say, 70%, somewhere close to 60%. So they've been able to contain the inflation part of it. They have also, we don't know officially as yet, they have also not exercised their discretion in invading Syria. They seem to have heeded to that. Whether they're biding time, we don't know. So those issues remain. They're still continuing to be the border between Russia, Ukraine, United Nations through the Black Sea in terms of the movement of the food grains. So they are straddling their positions very well. As far as this issue is concerned, I think they have conceded to Finland. But as far as Sweden is concerned, they want the so-called terrorists, which are the Peshmerga rebels who have taken asylum there, to be repatriated and tried in Turkey. And Sweden has, to the extent feasible, they seem to have conceded, but they are not willing to go the full distance. So I think they're using this as a barter mechanism to get at what they want, rather than anything which is of material and meaningful in nature, Sriji.
And FBI is on an investigation spree. We all saw how they raided Biden's residence and found no classified documents. It looked almost like a prelude to say that Hunter Biden is driven of pure snow. And now we are hearing that Mike Pence may be getting raided also. Sridharji, what is really going on between Hunter Biden / Joe Biden and China? And is there a relationship in all these things? Because the bigger problem, in my opinion, sir, is Biden's holdings, both Bidens, with Ukraine. That is the big pushnika. They are trying to hide that in the mud.
Sriji, I think that the joke is, if this was India, some two guys would have filed a case in Supreme Court, and they would have dragged this to the Supreme Court for Supreme Court to intervene. Well, this is United States, which runs a very different judicial system, a very different democratic system to India. So the story here is, it seems like, everybody in there who has held a president or vice president position seems to be, taking anything that they felt is important to their home without recognizing their classified documents. and they're not personal property of these individuals once they leave office. So it's not, they targeted President Trump, that has now receded into the backseat when they found in their own homes lots and lots of documents which were called declassified or classified, some of them. And they're all over the place, from their homes to their beach homes to President Joe Biden's center in Pennsylvania, University of Delaware. So, and then now they say, oh, Mike Pence also. Why Mike Pence? Maybe Mike Pence may be contesting for 2024 presidential elections. No, so let's kind of, see what best we can do to put a taint behind it. So it just is a laughing stock in terms of, first, what these responsible people have done, and second, suddenly waking up and finding all these documents in 2023.
Sridharji, wasn't Clinton using her personal email server to send emails one of the main reasons for her defeat in 2016?
Hillary Clinton's issue is a much, much bigger kind of an issue, not just the question of, the servers, but also her personal secretary not having the clearance and having access to documents and doing things from her home, etc. Everything.
You're talking about Huma Abedin, right? Huma Abedin.
Exactly. And the whole thing was squashed away. So therefore, nothing and everything is hunky dory, and we are back to business. And that seems to be the case. But 2016. Her defeat there was a groundswell of movement to move to the center or shift to the right, having had, first 4 years of Obama was you can say good. He bailed out during the financial crisis. The later 4 years turned out to be a big socialist agenda. And the Obamacare did not take off, and they continued to push, and many other programs faltered. So I think that there was a change required, and President Trump wrote that, and unfortunately, Hillary Clinton caught on that side of the fence. And I'm sure you are aware those debates did not go very well, Sriji, as well.
Yes, indeed. Now, we are going to take a look at what else is happening in the United States. And this, I have a story to tell you guys. I don't know how many of you have been following what played out yesterday in the House. Ilhan Omar gets booted out of the Foreign Relations Committee, and everybody has been using that headline. I don't know why. The vote was 218 to 211, more or less along party lines. But what played out after that? Rashida Tlaib, AOC, Ilhan Omar, all screaming their lungs out. I mean, sir, they are representatives of their people. And this is just a setback for 2 years. Who knows next what happens? Maybe they'll be back again, and maybe she'll get her seat again. But she is, being investigated for ethics. She has routinely taken outrageous stands. Not just Ilhan Omar, but also Rashida Tlaib. And AOC in a class of her own. Sridharji, why is one small event evoking so much, a frenzy of emotions?
Media. It's the media that is advocating and pushing this story. No common man is interested whether she is sitting in this committee or not sitting in this committee. But the media, which is a progressive media in United States, is spinning the tale and spinning the story, and there's significant amount of funding that goes in. I don't need to mention, and you all know where the progressives are getting their funding from. They control, they access the media. There could be a controlling group in the years to come as they continue to build their constituents within their franchises. So to answer your question, Sriji, simple truth. The truth is that it is the media which has turned this into topsy-turvy rather than the reality.
I mean, Rashida Tlaib is starting to break down and starting bawling. Come on now, this is just a small incident. So it is, you're absolutely right, histrionic playing to the galleries, so the media will pick it up. And I've seen so many Twitter threads on this, that aren't we having anything better to do? So anyway, let's move on.
No, there are three important issues, Sriji. She is the voice for three important issues for the progressives: anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, and anti-Jew. She was the voice controlling that within the Foreign Relations Committee. That voice has been sniffed. This is the underlying kind of an issue which the Republicans have raised and used it as the reason as to why she should be taken out, because it is a stand which is getting out of control. Okay, so these are the reasons that I'm not saying it. These are the reasons that the Republicans in the Congress have pointed out as to why she should go.
And not only that, I have done a monologue, and viewers, you can watch that. It came on Channel 2. Both Swalwell and Adam Schiff are guilty of committing crimes such as leaking classified information. Whether it was to China or to the media, both they are not supposed to have done. And that's the reason why they too are going to be booted out too. And to make a big hangama out of it is frankly, very, very strange. Also, I might add, a few months ago, I think there was a resolution that was suddenly passed like a bolt from the blue, where the House censored, I think, the Jewish aid or something to Israel, if I remember correctly. And within 24 hours, the vote was reversed. And the Jewish lobby, within 24 hours, they made sure that the thing was withdrawn. And you know what happened after the thing failed and the resolution failed? AOC starts crying in the well. I'm saying this shows some immaturity. Shows some maturity. Then there are people just electing you, thinking that you will take their issues forward, crying, creating scenes. This is not done, Sridharji. It's a first and a new low for American politics, in my opinion. Next, sir, let's take a look at Asia. U.S. opens an embassy in Solomon Islands after 30-year absence and expands footprint in Philippines to counter Chinese presence and threat. I think you touched upon it as Blinken visiting there and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So we'll just move on. The U.S. warship Nimitz in South China Sea has part of a regular deployment, shows U.S. commitment to the region. Sir, Nimitz is a special thing in many ways. I remember, what Nimitz has done. Yeah. So please explain to us a little bit, sir. Is this something going to be more of a deterrent for China's plans against Taiwan, or is it just more like we are here, we are looking over your shoulder or something like that?
We go back to 2 years, the DGI program.
Yes.
We said that when Quad was getting more active, getting active in terms of its deterrent strategy, and there was the Chinese carriers making navigation. 2 of them had come in, and we were waiting for the third. Reagan and Roosevelt, and Nimitz was the third, which was to come in, and they moved. With these 3 carriers, they became an effective deterrence as well as a monitoring strategy from enforcement of rules within Indo-Pacific and not to try any mischief. And then came the new administration. We slowly relegated, so they have still kept Nimitz, which is a strike carrier, and they're just demonstrating on the eve of Mr. Blinken's visit. Hey, Nimitz is making a round. They did exactly something similar when, if you recall, Nancy Pelosi, when she was making a visit to Taiwan, Sriji. There's something similar they did, and there was a navigation that went around as though to say that they are, guarding Nancy Pelosi. Everything is known to everybody. I believe that it is too little, too late in terms of Quad and the enforcement and deterrent strategy that United States once had, which doesn't have today.
Now let's take a look at India and India-related news. Sir, you already touched upon the 60 technology Quad cybersecurity group. Russia backs India's bid for a permanent seat in UN Security Council. There's a story here, by the way. I don't know if you guys have watched it. A few tens of episodes ago, we had talked about it, or maybe Elmer and I talked about it, that it was USSR, which was a permanent member of UNSC. And then USSR broke up, and the Russian Federation, the papers to switch USSR out and Russian Federation in, that paper wasn't submitted. Ukraine pointed it out, saying that really Russia is not even a member of UNSC anymore. Interestingly, now Russia is saying that India should be included in UNSC. So this unit, this entity has lost its meaning, in my opinion. Your take on this, sir?
All these central institutions created post World War II are totally irrelevant. Doesn't matter whether it's United Nations, World Health Organization, International Labor Organization, United Nations Human Rights, anything you want to call, International Court of Justice. Nobody wants to listen to nobody. So these are irrelevant central organizations. They are large bureaucracies. Instead of climate accord, you cut that money, you have that equivalent money available to look at famine and issues rather than the central institutions. Irrelevant. I think it's a symbolic statement. Lavrov is going to attend the summit, G20 summit in India. It's a symbolic statement by Russia, and it's also a nice political kind of straddling that Vladimir Putin is doing to say, hey, I'm with India. As much as you try and do United States, I'm always with India. So I think it is from a symbolic within that context, but the UNSC has no relevance, Shriji. I don't even know why India is still kind of bothered about UNSC.
Yeah, it's also an emotional thing. I mean, Indians get worked up and saying, "Oh, yes, we should be in UNSC." It makes no difference anymore. We don't need to worry. Don't waste time on all these distractions. We have a goal. Just keep going. Get ready for a war against China. That's what I would say, sir. New interesting information: Samsung, General Electric, and General Atomics. This name may not be very familiar with many of your viewers. They are seeking to establish a manufacturing foothold in India. Now, in the budget, there's a statement that the finance minister made saying that the P notes can be bought within India itself. It doesn't have to go out to Dubai, go there and come back. The foreign-based banks in Gift City and Ahmedabad can issue the participatory notes. Sridharji, are these things too tight? Because I see some sort of a tie there. Because why I say that is if GE and General Atomics, which makes drones, by the way, high state of the art drones, and Samsung, they all need infusion of huge amounts of capital. Now, for that, if there is money lying around, inside India, which is believed to be true, then at least let them get the benefit of tax incentives by using it as P notes. Is this what is being hinted at, sir?
I think that I think that it is an integrated strategy, which is namely mechanism to allow these countries to come in and use India as a large manufacturing base. The capitalization that needs to happen, if there is existing unused capital, they may have made a case which is to say, can you simplify the procedure by which we can bring this capital in, which also helps you in the process because it is indigenizing the manufacturing footprint within and shifting away from the dependency on China. Also, United States has also made its case, which is to say, for us to wean you from Russia, we need to give those capabilities to you. Without giving those capabilities, both capital as well as the know-how, and indigenizing it, we're not going to be able to win that battle of your reliance on Russia. So I think what you're seeing, as you rightly observed, is an integrated approach that is being pursued. So though it is not officially published, but this seems to be the mechanism that is at play, Sriji.
And again, something new that only DGI is covering. Remember, viewers, we've been telling you about how India has discovered a new source of export revenues, which is to get in crude, refine it, and send it out in record time. Now, we are hearing that the Cochin shipyard is building 2 ships for Germany. Again, it's a similar concept, right? I mean, I can get my head around it. India is now beginning to start doing many of the big things because people always thought that India will just do, back office operations and things like that. These are big deals. Refining a crude at volume in time and now building big ships. And that too in Kochi. I'm surprised, sir, pleasantly so.
Well, it's a shipyard, Cochin shipyard, and Visakhapatnam, I think Vizag is used for more defense and indigenous kind of requirements. Now they are, Cochin, they are expanding it for commercial purposes. And the fact that they're building these 2 large ships sets a precedence for expansion. And I think India is expanding is also its port footprint. As you rightly pointed out, they're saying we really got to get big on leveraging our capabilities to demonstrate to the world that it is an industrial and manufacturing powerhouse. And I think that's what we are beginning to witness, Sriji.
Thank you, sir. And last group is Europe. Air raid sirens went off in Kiev, even as the European leaders were meeting to discuss further sanctions against Russia. Sridharji, is this more saber rattling, or was there more intent than that?
No, I think it's more saber rattling, sending a message to to the people. So I think that's about it. And well, we talked about United Nations. Look at United Nations. They can't resolve Russia-Ukraine war, costing zillions and zillions of dollars. Okay, it's a classic example. You can't kind of solve. We again, we raised this and we touched it on DGI. They are discussing absorbing Ukraine into the Euro bloc. That's one of the discussions that is taking place besides further sanctions against Russia.
So what you're saying is, in a logical timeline, first Ukraine will become a member of the EU, and then with time, maybe they'll also become a member of NATO. We don't know at what point of time. And at the same time, there is going to be some sort of a détente between Russia and Ukraine. And it's the next item that is exactly that. Russia has already rejected a US peace proposal, which US hasn't even claimed that it has put on in front of Russia. Sir, what is going on here?
Well, I think that it's obviously there's a lot of mischief. William Burns, the CIA director, apparently, according to these hoax, visited and discussed this plan. Whenever you use the word CIA, I mean, you can read between the lines. And so the story is that Russia says all this is BS. Nobody has kind of talked to us. We didn't receive Mr. Burns. Well, for all practical purposes, Mr. Burns may have visited because, these agencies, KGB, CIA, they have this warm and fuzzy relationship. They're always kind of navigating and moving around, without telling the world that they're having this kind of forays. So I think this may have happened, but nothing to do with peace. And it's just another, right on the eve of, or right on the day when the meeting is taking place, this hoax comes out. The EU members with Ukraine.
Today is not a good day for the UN at DGI. The last news that I'm going to read: Austria expels 4 Russian diplomats, including 2 who represent UN diplomatic mission. Viewers, please pardon me. I have some dryness around my lips and I'm not able to pronounce properly. Please go ahead, sir.
No, I think that what it tells you is, again, the word diplomat and diplomacy has taken a different connotation in the last 3-4 few years. Austria found enough evidence. They gave them 5 days notice, which is to say they didn't use the word spying. They used the word, you are conducting activities that is not commensurate with your credentials and what your brief is. And so we have to you have to leave the place.
Well, that brings us to a close of today's episode. Do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. We really need your support. We are hoping to scale 25,000 views per episode. We are about halfway there, and we need your help to scale the remaining. All it takes is for you to share the link. Remember, we are consistently 2 to 3 days ahead of the MSM news cycles on all the things that we've been covering. And that requires us to do a lot of research. We are willing to do the research if you are willing to support us. Thank you once again. Namaskar.
Thank you. Namaskar. Have a wonderful weekend.